Okay, so we've got our pot centered. Now what we need to do is we need to slow it down. The centering speed, the speed that we center the wheel at, usually is like 120 RPMs, give or take. I like to throw at about 90, so between 60 and 90. So I need to slow it down a little bit, right? Uh, you can kind of see it's really going. So I'm just gonna. There we go. Perfect. It's like I've done it before. Uh, so I've got it slowed down. So now we're going to do all the other parts, right? Now for this, I'm actually going to have you look at me from overhead. So there's going to be a little bit of a view change between what you saw and what you're seeing and what you're going to see. Yeah. Don't get too dizzy on me. All right, so now you can see I've got it switched so you guys are looking overhead. This is actually a lot easier for you to see what my hands are doing than the side view. So we're going to go ahead and start up. So you can see the wheel is still turning fairly fast. It's at about 90 RPMs. That's rotations per minute. And you can see some of the places where I don't quite have it perfectly centered. That's okay. The first thing we're going to do is hydrate the clay and hydrate our hands. Then we're going to drag our thumb across the top of the clay. You'll notice I'm leaving a little ridge, a little indentation as I'm going. I'm going to drag it across the top, get to the middle. Once we find the middle, I'm just going to hydrate a little bit. We're going to press down through the thumb. Now the thumb isn't doing the pressing, my fingers are. But I'm using the thumb as a guide, as a tool, right? I'm going to press down into the clay until I get to about 1/4 of an inch. Once I get to 1/4 of an inch on the bottom, then we'll go from there. Let's pull that water out. So we'll press down until I'm within about 1/4 of an inch. That's about 1/4 of an inch, give or take. A little bit more on there, but that'll be okay. We can take that off a little later. Once I do that, I'm going to swap hands. Now, notice through this whole process, I didn't press with my hand up like this, floating away from the clay body. I had my hand engaged with the clay body, right? If I do this, I'm finding the center of some imaginary thing out here. If I do this, I'm finding the center of the clay that I'm working on. Hydrate it. We're going to swap hands. Now we're going to take our right hand, put it on the outside. We're going to open it up. We're going to take our left hand, put it on the inside, right? I like to use the longest finger I've got. That's this one, right? I'm going to tuck it right in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press with the side of my finger here out into the palm of my hand. I'm going to press with the side out into the palm of my hand. Nice and even. When I get to where I think I'm going, I'm going to hold it for a second and let the clay even out, just like when we were centering, and then I'm going to slowly let go. Right? That extra second or two of holding keeps it from getting wobbly on me. You don't want any sharp edges at this point, so if you end up with one of them, just take a second and smooth it down. Clean the water out. I'm going to widen it just a little bit more. There we go. Now, as we remember, clay, when we stretch it out, it gets very weak. When we compress it, it gets very strong. So we've stretched it, 4 inches here. So now I'm going to go back, and along the bottom, I'm going to compress and push back towards the center. That will help us alleviate any S-cracking that we might get. It helps with that. It's not as important on cylinders, which is what we're making today, but once we get to plates and bowls, recompressing that bottom really, really, really helps. It's a good thing just to be in practice of doing. And you'll actually, as you're doing this, you'll feel when it gets about right there, the clay actually getting a lot denser. You'll feel the density of the clay shift a little bit. That's good. That's what you want. There we go. Now, since we're making a cylinder, I want this bottom corner down here to be at a right angle, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my thumbnail and I'm just going to press into it because my thumbnail makes a right angle, right? I get a nice right angle here. I can push that in there and get a right angle, and then I pulled a lot of the extra weight that would be in this pot out of it. It's incorporated into the wall. So I have centered it, I have opened it, I have set the walls. Now I'm going to pull, right? To pull, I take my left hand and I put it on the inside. I take my right hand and I put it on the outside. If you're left-handed, it doesn't matter. If you're right-handed, it doesn't matter. This arrangement is because the wheel is spinning this way because we were in the Western Hemisphere. If we learned in Japan, I believe the wheels go the other way, and so you would be working over here, right? Because we're in North America, we work over here. We're gonna do it from the right side here. And I'm going to make sure that I've got a finger on each hand, right? So that was ridiculous. I'm going to make sure I have a finger from my left hand touching my right hand so that as I pull up, they move together. If I've got them separately, they could get ahead of each other, and then you wouldn't get an even pull. So I'm just going to rest my thumb, and you'll notice when we're throwing, I'll have a dirty spot right here or right here all the time, from just where I rest that thumb.